NFL free agency starts this week. Let's talk about 5 things the Jets must do. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm WatchUK99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So, it is the beginning of a new league year in the NFL. Time to get rid of what doesn't work, bring in something new that hopefully will work. And once again, this is usually about the most exciting time of year if you are a New York Jets fan like I am. So, free agency starts the tampering period on Monday. Contracts can become official as of Wednesday. Now, I want to talk about 5 things I feel the Jets must do in free agency to really be ready for the draft in April. Now, a couple of things I do want to talk about first to just take a look at where the Jets are in terms of cap space. This is really the first year under Joe Douglas where the Jets have had a lot of dead cap money they're going to have to deal with. Right now it's at about $28 million. $20 million of that is from just 3 players, Laken Tomlinson, Carl Lawson, and Dwayne Brown. Okay, now as of right now they have $26 million in cap space. The amazing thing about that is there's only 7 players on the Jets' current roster making $10 million on their cap hit this upcoming season. And one of them is named Zach Wilson, and you know he's not going to be on the roster either. There's no cap savings by cutting Zach Wilson, but if you trade Zach Wilson, you're saving another $5.4 million. Okay, so along with the 26, that takes you to about $31.5 million roughly. And then there's still some players who could get restructured. JohnFranklinmyers has a cap hit of $16.3 million. If they cut him after June 1st, if they decide to do that, then there would just be a $2.4 million dead cap hit and a savings of $13.9 million. djreed has a $15.6 million cap hit. No way he's going anywhere. But would the Jets be willing to give him a longer contract at a lower average annual value? So even though right now there's only $26 million in cap space, there are a lot of ways to create more room. So I wanted to talk about that first. So let's talk about the 5 goals, keeping in mind the Jets have kind of an average amount of cap space, so you can't sign premium players or super expensive players at every position. But the first thing that I feel the Jets need to do, and this is not going to be easy, is to sign a starting left tackle with some upside. Okay, the Jets finished 28th in sacks allowed, 30th in pass block win rate, 22nd in rushing yards, and 29th in run block win rate. Translation, the offensive line sucked this past year, and left tackle is the first thing that needs to be addressed. Now, we talked about this on my live show this past Wednesday night. It's not going to be easy because the left tackle market, the tackle market is very limited in free agency. But what I cannot have is the Jets going into this draft needing a left tackle. Joe Alt will likely be gone. Olu Fashanu, in my mind, is still a long shot to make it to 10. You've got Talise Fuaga. You've got J.C. Latham. They're enticing prospects. They should be there to draft. But to me, they are right tackles. So you look at who's available. You have Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. You have David Bakhtiari, who has spent a lot of time playing with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. When Bakhtiari's healthy, he's a fantastic pass-blocking tackle. But when you've had 5 knee surgeries in 3 years, it's a bit of a problem. So if you were to sign Bakhtiari, you need to sign another tackle who has a decent floor. Maybe a George Fant, maybe a Donovan Smith who wants to be a Jet. I don't want Donovan Smith if they're bringing him in to be the left tackle, but as somebody who can compete for a starting job, then I'm open-minded to it. Then you have some other players, Trent Brown, who's a level lower. Charles Leno, just released by Washington. He's 32 years old. He's pretty good. I wouldn't say he's plan A or even plan B, but if the other options fall through, I think Leno would at least be an option. So tackle really does need to be addressed, and I think that's going to be the biggest challenge that Joe Douglas has to face. Now, secondly, I want the Jets to sign a legitimate outside starting wide receiver. I think the Jets could get a very good slot receiver in the draft, whether it's a Malachi Corley, whether it's a Malik Washington, maybe a Jalen McMillan. There are a lot of good wide receivers that they could get, but I think they really need that legitimate target opposite of Garrett Wilson. Now, I want them to get Calvin Ridley. Some people not very excited about him. They feel he's going to be overpaid, but I would at least kick the tires on him first and see if he's interested in coming to the Jets. Now, Tyler Boyd, he's okay from Cincinnati. I don't know if I trust him to be the second receiver across from Garrett. When he has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase playing in front of him, he's only had so many targets, so he's really an unknown. Kendrick Bourne coming off a torn ACL, not a bad option, doesn't excite me. Darnell Mooney, not a bad option as well. The thing is, though, when they're playing with Aaron Rodgers, I feel confident that Rodgers can make a good receiver and make him really good. I do have that confidence. If you want to go a little more under the radar, DJ Chark would interest me. He's only 28 years old. He's got some speed. He's had some drop issues. That's what does worry me, but I would be willing to take a chance on him if all else fails. There's some guys I'm not into. For instance, Gabe Davis. Hopefully, Leger Douzable will not see that. If you do, Leger, please relax. But Gabe Davis does not interest me. To me, he's basically Robbie Anderson. You know, he'll make one or two plays a game, maybe, and the rest of the time you don't even know he's on the field. So I would like to see them get a starting wide receiver in free agency if possible. Number 3 is sign another offensive lineman who can start, preferably on the interior. Now at guard, you have a couple of really good players. Mike Onwenu from New England. Now he is going to play the right side of the offensive line, whether it's guard or tackle. And to me, where the Jets are, I still think they're going to be drafting their right tackle of the future in the first round. So if you sign Onwenu, you're basically paying $15 or $16 million a year to a right guard. Is right guard the position where you want to, direct most of your money? That's something you really do have to think about. Robert Hunt really intrigues me, and he intrigues the Jets because he plays in that outside zone scheme. That's what the Jets do on offense, more so than the gap. So I think that would really work. He's ranked number 1 among guards in pressure percentage. Hunt allowed only 1 quarterback hit last year. So if I had my choice really between Hunt and Onwenu, I would go with Robert Hunt. That would be my preference. A little bit lower on the ranks, you got James Hurst from the Saints, Damian Lewis from Seattle. That's a name not many people are talking about, but I like him. Kevin Zeitler is out there. He's played in New York. He'd be at right guard. John Runyon, I think, is the player I think they're going to go after to get on for a pretty cheap contract. Played in Green Bay, another former teammate of Aaron Rodgers. I think Runyon and maybe an expensive left tackle or wide receiver, that would make sense. That's what I'm looking at there. And then there is also the possibility the Jets could go with a center and shift Joe Timmon over to guard. But to me, you got to do it for a really, really good center. For instance, if they bring back Connor McGovern, sorry, he's playing guard. I'm not putting McGovern at center to move Tippmann over to guard. Okay, but if they can sign a Lloyd Cushenberry, Mitch Morse, maybe even a Tyler Biadasz from Dallas, I would at least be open to having that conversation. Okay, on to my next priority. That is sign a backup veteran quarterback. Now, to me, this is a little bit more limited than it seems. I don't think Jacoby Brissett is going to be that realistic. I think he's going to look for a place where he has an opportunity to start, and I don't think these quarterbacks are going to look at the Jets as a place where you're competing for a job. Gardner Minshew, very good. I know he's exciting, but he's very turnover prone. I don't know if he's going to leave Indianapolis. But Ryan Tannehill, to me, makes a whole lot of sense. He's got a big history with that Tennessee offensive staff, who's now with the Jets. Tyrod Taylor, I'm warming up to a little bit more. Tyler Huntley as well from Baltimore would work. I'll tell you who I would really, really like. If he hadn't been a Jet before, I think it would have been a perfect fit. It would have been Sam Darnold. I think Darnold, young pocket quarterback, would have been a perfect fit to come in and be the backup to Aaron Rodgers. But because he's been a Jet, he knows what it's like. I just don't think that's something he would ever entertain. All right, so definitely a backup quarterback, and probably Tannehill would be my target. So that's number 4. Number 5, sign one defensive starter. It could be a defensive tackle. It could be a safety. But we got to remember, the Jets have one starting defensive tackle and one starting safety under contract and pretty much no backups. You've got Tony Adams at safety, you've got Quinnen Williams at defensive tackle, and then everybody else is going to be hitting the market this week. Now, maybe the Jets bring back a Quentin Jefferson. Maybe they bring back a Chuck Clark, an Ashton Davis. That's all good. I'm not asking at defensive tackle for Christian Wilkins or Chris Jones. Like I said, there's some spots where you can't spend $15, $20 million on a player, but maybe you go after a Daquan Jones from Buffalo. You go after a Maurice Hurst from Cleveland, Shelby Harris from Denver, who's a really good run stopper. Bring back Foley Fatukasi, who Jacksonville just let go. Okay, and I still think they're going to go after a defensive tackle somewhere in the draft, somewhere in the middle rounds, like a Mekhi Wingo, a Dwayne Carter, a Jordan Jefferson. These types of guys, Braden Fisk would be really interesting too, with incredible speed. And then at safety, I think Cameron Curl is going to be their focus. But I think Curl's going to make quite a bit of money. But below that, you have Jordan Fuller, very good center fielder type safety. Alohi Gilman from the Chargers. Darnell Savage from the Packers. I think Justin Simmons, Xavier McKinney, Kevin Byard, they're just going to cost too much money. I think the Jets go a little bit lower cost on the defense. But I do think they will try for Cameron Curl, and they'll try to get him in. So that's my 5 spots, but I want to give you one bonus. Got to give you a bonus. Keep the special teams in place. Now, I think Thomas Morstead will sign very quickly on Wednesday due to certain technicalities and veteran statuses. The Jets cannot sign Thomas Morstead until Wednesday when free agency opens. But Greg Zuerlein, that's going to be interesting to see if the Jets bring him back. I hope they will, but even if they don't, there's some good kickers out there. Nick Folk, who is still as accurate as can be, he's going to be a free agent. You also got Will Lutz, Brandon McManus, Chase McLaughlin, who kicked about 93, 94% this year. So there's still some good kickers out there, but hopefully both Morstead and Zuerlein will return to the Jets. So that's a little preview of free agency about what I think the Jets need to do, but I want to know what you think. What positions do you think they're going to go after first, and what players realistically, considering the cap space and all of that, would you like to see them sign? Put it right down there in the comments. And a reminder, monthly memberships are open, so check that out. We do our live show on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. And this Wednesday, we'll do a recap of the first day of free agency. All right, everybody, thanks so much for checking it out. And we'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.